I spent almost 2 weeks hanging out in Tokyo, the largest megacity in the world, chock full of video game and animation goodies. And when I say chock full, I mean like a lot, really. Tokyo is the capital city with the population count 3 times bigger than Moscow. There are 23 wards, each of which is like a city in itself. Sure thing, I didn't have time to walk all around Tokyo, but I'm ready to share the most amusing and unusual places that I've discovered with you. A country with a population count close to that in Russia, nested on a handful of islands. Sounds kinda like a fantasy, but Japan is a fantasy turned reality. Right after you've left the airport, you will realize that you're in an anime of some sort, but instead of just a pretty background, you find yourself in the real world. This world also had subtitles, or at least a dub or something. That would be just perfect. A trip to Japan feels similar to a trip to Disneyland, which, for your information, Tokyo also has. But if Disneyland has its amusement rides and castles built like they belong in a cartoon, Japan has it vice versa. Anything scenic and beautiful that real life has to offer is put into anime, except for giant humanoid war robots, of course. So the first thing that naturally comes into the mind of any geek tourist is to go look for real-life anime locations. But for me, personally, it is not a priority. Because actually, these locations are wherever you look, damn it. Point is, so much manga and anime is released in Japan that there is probably not a single spot left in the country that won't turn up in some random anime. When you go to Japan, you have to remember that comic books and anime there are not for a small otaku audience only. Everyone in the land of the rising sun is hooked on manga, or almost everyone. Research says that 95% of the Japanese population read manga and watch anime. Even comic books in the US are not that popular. The wide range of genres and topics in manga caters to all ages, genders and interests. Adventure, fantasy, sports, cooking, erotica, history, science. There are even manga textbooks on any subject for universities. Circulation numbers exceed millions and make up a third of the entire volume of print production. The books themselves are dirt cheap, even for the average salary in Russia. Let's rejoice at those who go to Japan and know the language, because for them, the dollar volumes of manga are not just souvenirs, but readable, illustrated stories. Manga has been printed on cheap newsprint ever since it appeared in its modern format. Despite the quality, however, the contents must be able to keep the reader glued to the pages for chapters and chapters to come. Large manga magazines like these, that look a lot like a phone book, are released every week. They typically contain many stories, and you can purchase them at any convenience store for around $2.50. The more successful titles are later republished on beta paper into the so-called tankobon, which is in fact a separate volume. There are sometimes tens or even hundreds of tankobon like these. Further on, a manga may even be republished in color or get animated altogether if it's successful enough. If you're looking to stockpile in dirt cheap manga and anime stuff for yourself and your friends, while also walking around dumbfounded by the sheer scope of anime entertainment industry, you can knock yourself out literally anywhere in Japan, whether there's a book-off store that sells used books or Village Vanguard that offers latest releases. But you're looking for the ground zero of it all, which is Akihabara, an entire district in Chiyoda Ward dedicated to anime, manga, and video game goods and all the related whatnots. There's even a multi-story shop for self-published fan-made manga, known as the Zinsei, where the authors can do whatever they want with their favorite characters. Making Naruto and Sasuke gay and dedicating an entire book to that? Sure, no problem. And no one will sue you for the copyright infringement, by the way. Quite a stark contrast to copyright owners in some other countries that will copy strike you for using a 3-second sample of their 2-minute parody video, isn't it? As you can see, comic books in Japan are not something only kids and nerds enjoy. They are an actively exported cultural phenomenon. In post-World War II economic devastation, Osamu Tezuka drew inspiration from Disney cartoons to create his own exciting manga stories, which were sold very cheap, which is why people quickly got hooked on such an affordable leisure activity. And that's when all hell broke loose. So began the Golden Age, Astro Boy, giant robots, the production process costs going down. Then you got your Dragon Balls, Sailor Moons, and it all spreads abroad as a result. Because everyone be like, whoa! Akira! The hell is that? Why is it so awesome? The Japanese sure know what's up. Today, it's the anime that inspires Western animators and not vice versa. This was a super short recap of the history of anime. If you want to know more, you should visit a museum. Really though, if you are going to Japan and would like to learn the ropes of creating manga and anime, you should definitely visit the specialized museums. Don't wait too long and keep in mind that the most popular museums may be booked for months in advance, so you will have to check for reservations before you visit. I didn't know about it when I flew out to Tokyo, so I didn't get the chance to visit the Ghibli Museum. We were able to go to the Doraemon Museum though. However, it became clear that visiting manga and anime museums in Tokyo is a waste of time. The deal is, you will find a lot more of the good stuff in the streets of Tokyo, although this weird dude in a well is one of a kind for sure. Going from one anime museum to another in Tokyo is a bit boring. First of all, why would you, when there are indoor amusement parks based on all kinds of anime titles, and casually strolling up and down the streets is much more impressive. I mean really, over here you have Godzilla stalking you from behind the signs and neon, and over there's a shiny Gundam robot spreading joy to the tourists. If pop culture characters at every corner are not enough for you, there are plenty of anthropomorphic mascots of all shapes and sizes that represent whatever can be represented. A cafe, a parking lot, a store, a municipal district or a city, you name it. Regular logos were simply not enough for the Japanese at one point, so they took it up a few notches, and now any enterprise, big or small, has its own kawaii character. They are called yuru-kyara, and their numbers and variety can make even Pokemon jealous. One cannot simply enter the market without an anime mascot in modern Japan. It's just not serious enough. Even Kaspersky Antivirus has its own yuru-kyara. Even the police in Japan has a cute mascot who goes by the name of Pipa-kun. Pipa-kun. There are festivals and contests dedicated to these characters, and companies sell loads and loads of merchandise of all kinds. Sometimes the popularity of a certain yuru-kyara may transcend the borders of Japan. You may know this demonic bear as the "For the Glory of Satan" meme character, but it's just harmless Kumamon, the mascot of a Kumamoto prefecture. And this is Domo-kun, the mascot of NHK, a Japanese TV channel. Domo-kun also enjoyed international meme fame while bringing along insane amounts of profit to the channel through merch sales. But who in their right mind would spend their money on this crap, you might think? But no one asks such questions in a country with 3 grand of average salary. You earn your money fair and square, and you spend it fair and square. Whatever you spend it on is your business. Paper banknotes in Japan start at 1,000 yen, which is approximately 10 bucks. The rest is just coins. After riding the subway, which is used much more often than cars, buses, and insanely expensive taxi services, you have to spend the change so your pockets won't rip. And Japan has more than enough of those coin takers. One of the most popular ways of getting rid of the coins is to send them through a gachapon, which is a vending machine with random things packed in capsules. There is nothing they don't put in these machines, from anime keychains to pet clothes. The internet is full of legends describing capsule vending machines that sell used women underwear at every turn, but I didn't see anything like that. Sounds much more like a bogus story, and a bit of googling only confirms it. Such peculiar machines can only be found in specialized sex shops, and the panties there are manufactured to appear this way, like the trendy ripped jeans. That changes everything, right? No? Anyway, you can find many a curious thing in these machines. Well, except they don't have gachapon with plastic overshoes. Sorry, Japan, that's a Russian exclusive. There's one more popular type of toy vending machines, but this one is more fishy. I'm talking about all kinds of claw machines, UFO catchers, and crane games. The main difference from those outside Japan is the contents. You won't find any off-brand toys in here, just cool official merch. Something along the lines of giant Pokemon plushies and anime figurines that are mostly claw machine exclusives. The stuff in there is always positioned in a manner that makes you think that getting it is gonna be easy, but no sir. I fished out Dragon Ball's Goku on like my 15th attempt, but the taste of victory was worth it. All my investments came back to me. It's a joy I can't describe, really. I rejoiced even more when I found out the price of the figurine on eBay. Giant rolls of these UFO catchers can be typically found on the first floor of arcade centers, and they are just the tip of the multi-story iceberg above them. That's a weird metaphor, but you get my meaning. If you decide to go upstairs, you will get into full-on hardcore mode, and I mean it when I say it. Today, Japan is the only country in the world where the demand for arcade machines remains as high as ever, and the machines continue to evolve, with evolution taken on unimaginable levels of extreme. You can't really surprise anyone with VR nowadays, but how would you like a panoramic simulator for a commuter train driver though? Or check this out, that's something along the lines of Hearthstone, but it's a separate machine that uses real cards. Cool, right? On a more serious note, rhythm games are what's most impressive. You can't imagine the stunts they pull in there. It's insane. I wonder if they have like a Hogwarts for teaching this stuff. I have to say, I didn't even try to play anything. I just came and the math skills of the Japanese sent my head spinning. It's like a rave at a nightclub, only everyone has their own dance floor and a DJ stand. This is awesome. You can't get any more hardcore than that. People in Japan go all in and give their all to any type of hobby, be it collecting, drawing, or rhythm games like these. There are game centers full of money-hungry gambling-type machines as well. These machines go by the name of pachinko and are like a love child of a slot machine and a pinball. But there are a couple hundred balls in there instead of just one. The more balls you get into a special hole, the more balls you win. Everything is glowing, glittering, and glimmering, the music is playing, the balls go through obstacles, and the player uses a handle to control the force of the balls being released, which creates an illusion of control. But in fact, the game is all random. Casinos are actually illegal in Japan, but pachinko is not recognized as a money game on official level, because the only thing you can win here is balls. You can exchange them for some snacks or trinkets at the checkout counter. What you do with the snacks is obvious, but useless trinkets can be exchanged for money. Not in the game center though. You gotta go do that in a dark alley of sorts. Smells of black market to me. There are more pachinko gaming centers in Japan than sports betting locations in Russia, which is kind of terrifying. Inside there is a deafening rumble from tens of speakers and thousands of balls rolling over at the same time. The place reeks of tobacco smoke and has its own special mood. Sucks. Pachinko is an extremely profitable business, and the copyright holders of more traditional games do not shy away from releasing machines based off famous video game titles. Gamers, understandably, get outraged over things like this sometimes. Imagine yourself waiting for a new installment of Silent Hill with Kojima and Del Toro in it, then you get a super cool demo that everyone salivates over, and there is no stopping the hype train when suddenly Konami shuts down the project and announces a Silent Hill Pachinko. The end. I couldn't stay a minute in those pachinko centers I mentioned. It turned out to be beyond my psychological and physiological capabilities. I still wanted to test out such a machine, and as it happens, there is a chance to quietly sit down and chase some balls. And it's not just balls. This cool place has the arcade classics, mostly primitive, like the original Space Invaders, the forefather of all that is good in this world. But that's exactly what you need after you've witnessed the stunts and tricks of rhythm games. This corner of nostalgia is located not far from the Gundam statue, and right next to Sega's Joypolis, which is a small indoor amusement park on steroids, where you can turn yourself into a giant aquatic animal.
Я водяной, я водяной. Поговорил бы кто со мной, а то мои подружки, пиявки, да лягушки, фу, Какая гадость!
Actually, Sega seems to be doing quite well. An entire amusement park with blackjack and Sonic. Plus a couple more simple places in Akihabara where claw machines easily cash in on the visitors. Back to Akihabara. Speaking of retro arcades, I dug up a Super Potato there. That's the actual name of the place. Arcade machines aside, the Super Potato turned out to be a vintage video game store of 3 floors, so it's actually the arcade machines that serve as a nice bonus here, if anything else. Consoles of all kinds, cartridges, discs, and other bells and whistles for literally any kind of console from previous generations. Everything is quite affordable, except for some rare stuff like the Japanese edition of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2. You don't want to know the price. And it was my birthday anyway. Akihabara offers other retro gaming spots as well. Prices don't vary too much, but the choice of goods may vary a little. But it was the Super Potato that won me over with its charm and its mascot. Mascots really do work. I personally don't see much sense for a Russian gamer to be buying anything besides old games or some cheap hardware. I mean, you can obviously buy current generation consoles at a much cheaper price there. You can easily switch between the languages and there is no region lock on them. But it's a different story with console games. There are tons of games for PS4, for example, but how are you gonna play it if it's all in Japanese? It's much better to buy yourself a load of original Mega Mans and game away on your dear old NES at home, never leaving it and remembering the good old times in Japan. Akihabara also has a curious 18+ thing just for tourists that deserves all the attention in the world. And I can't not mention it because it's just too hilarious. And no, I'm not talking about multi-story hentai shops. Anyway, if you have an international driving permit, I have a deal for you. You and your friends get dressed up like Mario characters, get radio headsets, get into go-karts, and that's it. Pedal to the metal, and you are on your way. You got that right, ride around the city, dodging regular cars and all that. Mario Kart in real life. Dreams do come true. It's a cool thing, and you might think it sounds dangerous, but nobody died yet. Maybe got away with an injury or two. Car traffic in Japan is nothing compared to crowded roads in Russia, but I can see how this commotion might set local drivers on edge. Or maybe it doesn't, because people here are really different. Japan seems like a peaceful and happy country to me. And that says a lot, considering all the shit it went through, like atomic bombings and earthquakes. People live long and do whatever they want. Like, we dropped by a random bar on a weekday because we heard live music, and there were no customers, but there was a jam sesh from a group of Japanese oldsters who were just chilling by themselves and playing their music. Imagine your grandpa getting his friends together for an evening or two a week and go full-on metalhead mode. Wouldn't it be freaking awesome? Thank you all for watching. And it's actually to be continued, because I haven't told you anything about Japanese snacks yet, and no wonder. That's for a whole other video.